friends, we are not done yet. I'm Elizabeth Macdonald, and with me, the Reverend Dr. Aruna Alexander. Now, Aruna, you're retired from paid accountable ministry. You could be putting your feet up and just relaxing, but your call is continuing to unfold in the context of your multiple social locations. What does that mean exactly? What's involved in multiple social locations?
Well, it takes me back. Thank you, Elizabeth, first of all, for the invitation to share this conversation with you. And um, so I'll begin at the beginning. And my understanding of multiple social locations and how they impacted the work I have done and continue to do takes me back to my biography. And those social locations for me are both external and internal. And they've become, the external has become the internal landscape. Externally, moral and social justice issues originated for me in India, where I was born, and I received my introduction into ecumenical realities. So what does that mean? That means that my parents and my family were part of the Anglican Church in India. My father was what we would call the clerk of session for years, and worked very closely with the rector. My schooling from age 6 to 16 was in a Roman Catholic convent school for girls, belonging to what is known as the Loreto order, which we have in Toronto as well. And this was a day school and a boarding school, and I simply loved the chapel services. I was a boarder along with my sisters. And when we returned home for vacation, we would attend the Anglican services. So we had great grounding in both the Roman Catholic and the Anglican traditions. Now, the convent was divided into two sections, one for Western colonial education, and the other focused more or less on Indian content and culture. So that section, the Indian section, was known as St. Mary's Convent. And this is where Mother Teresa worked and lived when she arrived from Yugoslavia as a missionary. And this is the place where she left after she was given permission from the Pope to conduct outreach work on the streets of Calcutta. So we would walk in that garden as students many evenings. Now, her presence in Calcutta had a profound effect on me. I saw her get out of her van with other missionary sisters of charity. That was their formal title. And I saw them talking with the lepers. And I saw them stoop down and pick them up from the street, get them seated into the van, and drive them to the organization's safe home. I recently visited her home in Calcutta when David and I were there. And the images remain with me to date. It was my introduction to issues of social justice.
Huge impact in your life.
Yeah. So the work in this external place that was taking place transformed my inner landscape through reflection. And if you've never read Elizabeth, if you've never read the book, Something Beautiful for God by
It's a wonderful book. Yes, wonderful. I know this book, and you're right. We should all read this book.
Absolutely. So that was one location. So in addition now to the ecumenical dimension, I lived in a country that was and is profoundly interreligious. we have all of the world religions represented in the cities of India. And if the Western missionary movement had not taken place, I would belong to the Hindu community of faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This external reality is part of my internal landscape as well.
So tremendous complexity here when you talk about multiple social locations. What kind of an impact is all of this having on your ministry in the church and in the wider community today?
Well, a major impact, because the third one, of course, social location would be my experience and life in Canada, correct?
Yes, of course.
And that too has been ecumenical and interreligious. So a major impact has been for me the transformation from an exclusive theological to a pluralistic intersectional perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been a minister, that has been huge, both a struggle and a resolution from that struggle, theological struggle. That informs my work today, but it has been a journey. Mm-hmm. It has been a painful journey, but it has ended in peace.
Not ended yet.
Not ended. We're not done yet.
No. But you have come to a place of peace.
Yes.
Having worked through this complexity, far more complex than many of us have had the opportunity to experience. And in recent months, we have here in the region of East Central Ontario, in addition to the interfaith work that you've done and other kinds of justice work, we hear you calling us to engage in the work of anti-racism. And I wonder if you wanted to speak a little bit about the initiatives underway in our own region that you're a part of, that you're encouraging all of us to become a part of.
Right. So all of the initiatives that I've taken over the years and continue to take are initiatives that bring church and community together, bringing our spiritual and our religious values together through dialogue and intersectional events. So if you were living in Belleville and attended any of these events, you would see people from all sectors of society present there. So in terms of social justice work, that means you would see people of color, you would see LGBTQ, you would see intercultural, interfaith, experiencing whatever event it was together as citizens and as members of the church. Mm-hmm. That is very important. And I took the initiative years ago to open a branch of the United Nations Association here in Belleville. And I remember we rented space at Eastminster United Church. That was the first place that we held an anti-racism event. Mm-hmm. And invited the community to come. You see, in those former years, anti-racism was not something that was talked about too much.
No, it was a very new concept for many people living in Eastern Ontario, especially.
Yes, yeah. So that was a major initiative, and that has grown, and then that work continues again with church and community. The other initiative is that we have an annual summit, a leadership summit on inclusivity, where we bring church leaders and community leaders from all sectors together. Mm-hmm. And we have leaders speak and answer questions and so on and so forth. A major initiative that was community oriented was presenting at City Hall in Belleville. and recommending that they join UNESCO's program titled the Canadian Coalition of Municipalities Against Racism and Discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yeah.
Yeah, so clearly you're working in the wider community around anti-racism. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the most recent stand our United Church has taken. Just last October, the 43rd General Council held a special session and declared to the world that the United Church is aspiring to become an anti-racist church by eliminating systemic racism in church policies and practices. And a new position was created within the General Council staff, an anti-racism and equity officer. And we were very fortunate that Adele Halliday, who was already working in church and mission, knows our church very well, has accepted this new position. Your thoughts on this very significant step that the United Church is taking? Or should I ask you, do you see it as a significant step?
Yes, I do. I see it as a significant step. It's a public statement, but I've sort of, through my ministry and journey, sort of moved away from, I mean, I enjoy the high when these sorts of announcements are made, but now I'm acutely aware of the depth of the work that needs to be done, particularly if one is focusing on systemic racism, because, as you know, Elizabeth, from your excellent work as well, I mean, it involves history and context and many dialogue, conversations, that sort of thing, and then because we're still on earth, we're dealing with the politics of interpersonal politics and social political situations and so on. So yes, and I am pleased that Adele, with her experience in our church and her understanding of the processes and so on, has taken on the challenge, and I look forward to supporting her in any way that's possible. But I did leave my former denomination because of the courage that the United Church showed during the 1980s. And that for me is crucial, and it continues to do that.
And by the grace of God, may we demonstrate the same courage in this moment where we're called to the work, the ministry of dismantling systemic racism. And as you say, it's hard work, and it's work for all of us, not just those working in the General Council office.
No, this is true. And that, I think, will be the challenge. When you say all of us, for me, that translates to all of our congregations. And that, you know, we need to look at the tools that are given to lay leaders, you know, and yeah, we can talk further about that some other time.
And this conversation, my dear, is far from over. There's the work for many of us is just beginning. So thank you so much, Aruna Alexander, for this conversation today. And I have no doubt that we're going to be picking up this conversation sometime down the road to take a look at just how we are engaging in the work of anti-racism at every level, at the community of faith throughout our region and across our church. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and thank you for inviting me.